Greetings. I'm Kathy Green with Christian News and Interviews. And I am here to talk to you about Gina Carano. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Until about 2 days ago, I had never heard of Gina Carano. I don't watch much TV, and I'm definitely not a mixed martial arts type of a girl. So I wasn't familiar with her. Just never heard of her. So what I'd like to do, though, because I've been hearing about her, reading about her, is just talk a little bit about her, because one thing I have discussed on this channel is cancel culture and the fact that I am 100% against this cancel culture. I don't believe it's of God, and let me make it very clear, I am a born-again Christian, and I don't believe that this cancel culture is of God. God does not cancel out his people. We are in a free country, the last time I checked. This is the land of the free and the home of the brave. And what good is it being a free country if we can't exercise freedom of speech, freedom of exercise, freedom of thought, freedom of critical thinking? If all of us are required to think alike and to follow the leader, to follow the crowd, there's a problem. And it's definitely a problem for me because I've never been a follower. I've always been a leader. When I was in college and all my friends were smoking joints and freebasing, guess what I was doing? Saying no thank you, okay? When everybody else was smoking cigarettes and experimenting with that stuff, guess what I was doing? Saying no thank you. I've just never been a follower. I've always been a leader. And so I wouldn't make it out pretty well being a person who, just because the crowd is doing something, I'm doing it. That's just not, that's never been me, even when I was a child. So that just won't work. Apparently Gina Carano is also a leader and not a follower. And apparently those of us who are leaders, not followers, Americans have a problem with us, huh? Because we're being canceled. Well, I did a little bit of research on Gina Carano, and I found out a few things about her. The first thing I found out about her is that she voted for Trump. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I did not vote for Trump. I voted for Joe Biden, not because I'm in love with him, because as a born-again Christian, I'm not in agreement with his views on a lot of social issues. I'm not getting into it right now. That's not my purpose here for the moment. I don't agree with his views. However, Trump was unbearable. Trump was unbearable. And so I voted against Trump and I voted for Biden. Not because I'm in love with Biden, but because somebody had to get into office and somebody had to leave. Okay? So, Ms. Carano voted for Trump. I'm fine with that. It's a free country, and so you get to vote for whoever you choose. Ms. Carano talks a lot about voter fraud. Well, I don't believe that there was voter fraud. But if she were a friend of mine, I certainly wouldn't dump her simply because I don't believe that there's been voter fraud, and she does believe that there's been voter fraud. The thing that really got her fired was because there was an analogy that she shared that, in hindsight, she probably wished she had not gone along with that analogy. But, you know, because people are real sensitive. People are sensitive. I mean, let's be honest, people are sensitive. And Jewish people are sensitive. They're very protective of the Holocaust and about anything that pertains to the Holocaust. And so she probably should have just stayed away from that altogether. But what she said was that, what she said was the truth, which was Jewish people didn't just wake up one day and find themselves the victims of the Holocaust. She said it started with the government turning German people against their neighbors, the Jewish people. And so over a period of time, German people started to turn against the Jewish people because the government and people like Hitler with his book, they were they were convincing Germans that the problems that the Germans were having was as a result of whatever it was that the Jewish people were doing. And they were making the German people very suspicious of Jewish people. And so it came to a point where they started to turn against Jewish people. They became violent against Jewish people, against their neighbors. And so it made it easy for the Germans to then come in, for the Nazis to come in and really wreak havoc on the entire community. And so she took that, and her analogy to that was that if you turn Americans against conservatives, the same thing will happen. Well, that's not a good, to me, that's not a great analogy, but that's my opinion. Should she lose her career over that, though? In my opinion, she should not lose her career over that. In my opinion, they would find a reason to dump her, and that was it. She didn't say that she agreed with the Holocaust or that she was happy that Jews were attacked by their neighbors. She didn't say that. But yet they accused her of being anti-Semitic. It's bizarre. So anyway, they found a reason to fire this woman. And the true reason she was fired was because she was conservative. As I continued to do research on her, another thing that I saw that I think was the beginning of her end, she had been the victim of bullying, really. Certain people were trying to force her to, quote unquote, choose her pronouns. She's a woman. She identifies as a woman. She's always identified as a woman. And so she took offense to people telling her that she must choose her pronouns. Her pronouns are obviously she and her. So she refused. She didn't feel like she needed to choose her pronouns. And so as a result of her not choosing her pronouns, people started to accuse her of being a bigot or a phobic. These days, if you don't agree with someone, they accuse you of being phobia. But she stood her ground and she refused to choose pronouns. Why should she have to? I know in my case, I've been a woman all my life. I don't need to choose pronouns. I'm a woman, so the pronouns that go along with being a woman and that have gone along with being a woman since the beginning of time are she and her. So there's nothing for me to choose. But again, I'm a leader. I'm not a follower. Followers are now choosing their pronouns. Why? Because the crowd is telling them that they must. And so Ms. Carano said, no, I won't be choosing my pronouns. And then she made a joke of it. And she said, okay, beep, bop, bip. I think those were the three that she came up with 3 B words. And I think it was beep, bop, bip, something like that or something similar. And she made a joke of it. And those who were bullying her didn't appreciate the fact that she wouldn't bow to them and choose her pronouns. And so they accused her of being a bigot and a transphobe and heaven knows what else they accused her of being. But that was the beginning of her end. When she stood her ground and said, no, I won't be choosing my pronouns because you can look at me and see what I am. In walks Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire. And I'm very happy to say, even though I don't even know this woman, I don't agree with the fact that she has these conspiracy theories. I don't agree with any of that. What I do agree with is the fact that she didn't deserve to be fired for having views that don't agree with my views. Life would be certainly boring if we all thought exactly alike. And I love the fact that she wouldn't allow herself to be bullied.